Okay, so you should watch the very last video on calculushelp.com, chapter 2, video number 5, the chain rule. So looking at the chain rule, you have to remember we're dealing with composite functions here. So you're trying to find an inside function and an outside function. So the chain rule, the best thing to remember there is take the derivative of the outside, so you can kind of see right here, leave the inside alone, and then times it by the derivative of the outside. So the key here is identifying your inside and outside. I don't know why color is working now, but it is. That's great. Okay, so looking at example number 1, what looks like my inside function and what looks like my outside? So that's hard for students. So another way to help them think of their outside is the operation you would perform first. So as you saw this problem, you would think squared. So that is my outside function. So now I say f prime. We take the derivative of the 2. So that is a power rule. So 2 comes in front. What do we do to the inside? Leave it alone. So x squared minus 3. Well, we have to finish that power rule. 2 minus 1 is 1. I'm going to put a 1 there so you don't forget that we were using the derivative there. Now we times it by the derivative of the inside. And the derivative of the inside there is 3x. So this problem we can simplify because that power is just 1. So I can FOIL things in. I'm really going to FOIL in a 6x because 3 times 2 and x gives me 6x cubed minus 18x. So there's my derivative. Okay, now before we do g, we need to rewrite in terms of a power. So that's going to be your first step. Well, let's just rewrite g of x. 2x squared minus x raised to what power? Well, remember the root is your denominator. The power is the numerator. So it's x, that raised to the 3 halves. So once again, I ask myself, what is the outside function? It's the power. So now g prime to the power, 3 halves comes in front. What do we do to the inside? Leave it alone. Now we have to subtract 1 from the power, which leaves us with a half. Now times it by the derivative of the inside. The derivative of the inside there is 4x minus 1. So I can't FOIL this into there because that is a radical. I could take the 3 into that group if I want, or I could leave it just the way I have it. So that would be the derivative. Okay, example number 3. Now looking at this one, I can see 2 different functions. There's one, there's another. So now that means I'm going to have to do a product rule because I have multiplication going on. I'm going to have to rewrite that as a power, so I'll just kind of do that right now. Now let's do the product rule. So f prime of x. Take the derivative of the first. So I'll do that in green, so 6x. Leave the second alone. So 9 minus 4x squared raised to the 1/3. I meant to keep that in blue, sorry, but oh well. Plus, now we leave the first alone and times it by the derivative of the second. So now we have to apply the chain rule to take the derivative of that second piece. So 1/3 comes in front. Leave the inside alone. We're now raised to subtract 1, negative 2/3. Now we need to times it by the derivative of the inside. 9's gone, the derivative of that will be negative 8x. The only thing really could clean up, those 3's will wipe out. Oops. I can't tell what was sitting there. That was an x squared. It's just a times. And I could pull that negative 8 out front right to there and rewrite that as an x cubed. Other than that, that's as far as you go. And students are like, well, that looks a whole lot worse than what I started out with. But that's what the slope is of that function. It's not a nice, clean one. Yeah, so here we ended up using the product rule with the chain rule. Okay, this last example is just mainly to help you to apply the chain rule when they write it in terms like this, P of Q of X. So once again, take the derivative of the outside. Who's the outside function? I can see P is, so I go P prime, leave the inside alone. Now I times it by the derivative of the inside, and the derivative of Q would be Q prime. So now they're going to tell you to do it at a point. So now I'm just going to replace all those x's with a 2. And now they have to give you all this information. So I come up here, Q of 2, right there is 3. So now I'm looking at P prime of 3 times, what is Q prime of 2? Well, Q prime of 2 is 2. So I need this last piece. What is P prime of 3? P prime of 3 is 4. So now I'm left with 4 times 2, which is 8. Oh, sorry. So the derivative of P of Q of X of Q of 2 is 8. So that was really fast. It's a quick video. Go through it one more time if you need the help.